I would like to issue an apology. I made a statement that was subtly complimentary of Bishop Barron, and the same day that I released that video is whenever he released an article on Word on Fire's website criticizing traditionalists. The article starts out by saying, I commenced my writing career roughly 25 years ago as a critic of liberal Catholicism, which I referred to in one of the first articles I ever published as beige Catholicism. Oh boy, here we go. Further down he says, but the same Cardinal George who strongly criticized the liberal stand within Catholicism also said this, conservative Catholicism in some of its reaction takes refuge in earlier cultural forms of faith expression, absolutizes them for all times and all places. That's kind of the point of the liturgy. Barron says, in recent years, a fiercely traditionalist movement has emerged within American Catholicism, finding a home particularly in the social media space. It has come about partly as a reaction to the same beige Catholicism I have criticized, but its ferocity is due to the scandals that have shaken the church the past 30 years, especially the McCarrick situation. In their anger and frustration, some of it justified, these arch-traditionalist Catholics have become nostalgic for the church of the pre-conciliar period and antipathetic towards the Second Vatican Council itself, Pope John XXIII, Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI, and particularly our present Holy Father. The supreme irony, of course, is that these radically traditionalist Catholics, in their resistance to the authority of the Pope and their denial of legitimacy of an ecumenical council, of risk stepping outside of the confines of the Church. So obviously he's referring to the Second Vatican Council, which this debate has gone on and on and on, and I think the trads have won this debate very clearly. So Bishop Barron calls us schismatics. This is very interesting because we accept all of the dogmatic principles of the Church as opposed to the liberals who he says he criticizes who reject a lot of Church teaching. I don't know what Barron is talking about when he refers to the resistance to the authority of the Pope, as most traditionalists simply question Pope Francis's contradictions to the Bible and church doctrine. Bishop Barron says that Word on Fire stands with Vatican II, Pope John Paul II, Pope Francis, and the Catechism of 1992, and it takes as its mission the new evangelization. It's interesting he doesn't mention Pope Benedict, but also very important, he says he stands with Pope Francis, so this is going to pose some problems. Bishop Barron calls traditional Catholicism self-devouring Catholicism. He calls traditional Catholics angry denizens of the Catholic rite. Bishop Barron says about this self-devouring Catholicism, perhaps sensing this contradiction, they remain spitting mad at anyone who would dare to challenge them. This is particularly interesting because Bishop Barron conveniently ignores anyone who dares to challenge him. He has ignored Taylor Marshall, and he has said that he doesn't want to give Taylor Marshall a platform, so he refuses to debate him. In fact, he refuses to debate anyone over Vatican II. He refuses to debate anyone over the reasonable hope that all are saved, and he dismisses them as angry traditionalists. In his closing sentence, he says, I have tried to situate Word on Fire on the path of an evangelical Catholicism, the Catholicism of the saintly popes associated with Vatican II, a living Catholicism. He mentions the Catholicism of the saintly popes associated with Vatican II after the sainthood process was simplified. And finally, he refers to the Vatican II Catholicism as a living Catholicism. This is an interesting and contradictory statement because I would say that Vatican II Catholicism is a dying Catholicism. Just look at the percentage of Catholics who believe in the real presence. It's somewhere around only 30%. Look at the number of Catholics who attend Sunday Mass regularly, and look at the number of religious vocations. They've completely plummeted. He says that Word on Fire stands with Pope Francis. Well, this is interesting. Does that mean he accepts Pachamama? Does he accept the contradiction of Pope Francis' Amoris Laetitia, where he says that divorced and remarried can receive communion? And we know he stands with the seamless garment because Pope Francis tried to change the catechism in regards to the death penalty, which Bishop Barron referred to it as an eloquent ambiguity on the death penalty. So Bishop Barron tries to paint himself as a moderate, and this is actually a liberal tactic where he says, oh, I'm pushing the moderate view. I'm pushing this extreme leftist idea, but it's moderate. And if you don't like it, then you're a schismatic. You're outside the church. And everyone can see him for what he is now. He's a liberal. Isn't it interesting that Bishop Barron releases this article right after Father James Martin promotes an enormous heresy? He used female pronouns for God. In fact, Bishop Barron endorsed Father James Martin's book, but it's traditionalists that are a problem, not the modernists who preach heresy. So as lay people, we need to push back against this nonsense that Barron is spouting, because we are the laity and we will not be silent.